Welcome back, V.O.C. YouTube channel. More traditional video than last week's video. Thanks for watching the video last week. It was very funny to finally watch Jonathan pay off the debt, eating the world's hottest chip. It's very funny. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. Hopefully we can do more stuff like that in the future. But for this week, I just want to go through kind of like midway point of the season, kind of some highlights, and then my picks this week, as it is probably the biggest college football week we're going to see all year. These games are going to change the way we look at the season, we look at teams, we look at conference outcomes, coaches. It's going to change a lot. So let's jump into it.
Third down
Looking at midway season highlights real quick, you know, the Heisman frontrunner to me, it's pretty self-explanatory. Ashton Jeanty, Boise State running back. He has 127 carries, 1,248 yards, 17 touchdowns. That's crazy, right? With 6 games in, you know, Boise State's also 5-1. They're only lost to Oregon, who's now number 2 team in the country. Last year alone, he had 1,347 yards and 14 touchdowns. That was last year. So he's already eclipsed the touchdown mark. And he is less than 100 yards away from already passing what he did last year in rushing yards. Kid's nuts. 200 yards is just kind of what he gets. Sometimes in the first half, it's incredible to watch, actually. And it's crazy in the times that we're in now. The kid can just dominate a conference so much, let alone it being the Mountain West. But this kid right now is kind of on the trajectory, historic numbers, greatness, and especially if Boise State can keep winning. They go 11-1, win the Mountain West, 12-1. You get into the playoff as a 12th seed. That only helps his Heisman chances. Now, this could change, but if he continues on the way, I mean, look, already 1,248 yards, 17 touchdowns, that alone right there, if he just kind of rushes for 100 yards each of the rest of the games, he's looking at almost 2,000 yards rushing. Say he gets a touchdown each, you know, he's at 25 or so touchdowns. Be really crazy. Coach of the year as of right now, I would say Mario Cristobal of Miami. 7-6 last year. Now you start the season 6-0, and you're kind of in the driver's seat for the ACC championship. Playoffs, ACC championship, you're kind of in that movement of like, hey, you could be a top 4 seed, get yourself a bye. What he's built in Miami, it's taken some time. People have said some things, but, you know, look, you get a quarterback with what he's kind of done recruiting-wise. They're a very good football team. They have a tough game this week against Louisville. But as of right now, you look at them from last year to this year, from where Miami's been in the past, especially most of my life, not very good. You kind of have some momentum. The U is feeling like they're back. So I would say as of right now, Coach of the Year, Mario Cristobal. All right, I'm going to talk about biggest disappointment teams and biggest surprise teams. Biggest disappointment team, there's no one bigger than Florida State. 1-5, just you have last year where you go undefeated. You lose your quarterback. You lose just that momentum of having him. You end up winning the ACC title. You're undefeated. You boo-hoo about not getting into the playoffs. You get destroyed by Georgia. And now you start the year 1-5. DJU hurt. Not very good. Overrated. Mike Norvell, you give him a big contract. Now he's viewed as like the most overpaid coach in college football. You know, this is one of those years where it's like, I don't know how much you can bounce back from it in a way of just the view and the perception of the program. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's one of those things where it was not expected. They're top 15, top 10 team to start the year. You're kind of looking at them to win the ACC potentially. And now they're 1-5, and it's like, can they even make a bowl game? Biggest surprise teams, there's 2, Army and Navy. Army's 6-0, Navy's 5-0. I love stuff like this, you know, these military schools. As being a Notre Dame fan, you always play Navy, play Army very often. We play the military schools a lot. You kind of have a camaraderie and a bond to them, I would say. First time they've both been ranked since the 1960s, which is crazy. One time they were both powerhouses. And clearly, you know, as time has changed in the world that we're in now with college sports, it's really cool to see these 2 teams doing well, continuing on the path. Now, both of them have to play Notre Dame, which is out of conference. But there is a chance that if they both go undefeated in conference, the week before the Army-Navy game, they would play the conference championship game against each other. That would be crazy. So we have a chance to see them play twice. But the tough part about these midseason highlights, and kind of why I wanted to do it in this video, and not really talk about games from last week, and wanted to really talk about the midseason because it'll be fun to see how much changes from now to the end of the year, because it's going to change a lot. That's just where we're at. That's just what college football is. It's just how it works. But I thought it would be kind of interesting to look at it, from what the beginning of the year, my kind of thoughts about things, to now, to then what the end of the year is going to look like. So that's why I want to do it. All right, on to picks. Look, I've struggled the last 2 weeks. Need to really bat down the hatchets and figure it out here. I'm 16-16 on the season, so still at 500, but slumped the last 2 weeks. Went 0-4 2 weeks ago, 1-4 last week. I have 6 games this week. This is, like I said, probably the biggest college football week. Clearly this year, maybe the last 10 years. I don't know ever regular season-wise, but it's a big week. All right, number 6, Miami, 6-0, -5 at Louisville, who's 4-2. Louisville has kind of struggled since their loss to Notre Dame. You lose to SMU. You're kind of struggling. You're limping. They're just that team, but they're a dangerous team in the fact that you have those losses. Miami comes to town. Miami's struggled themselves to really get around some teams. I think this game is close. I think Miami ends up winning it. I think Miami covers because I think they're going to win by a touchdown. But it's going to be close. It's going to be one of those games that's very interesting, but I think Miami pulls away. All right, this is a game that I don't think anybody expected. I didn't. Nobody expected this game to be great. Nebraska 5-1 at number 16 Indiana. Indiana 6-0. Who would have thought? New coach, new culture. You bring some energy to IU, which football-wise never really been there. Indiana's 6.5-point favorite. I think that's kind of surprising. You look at Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, young Patrick Mahomes, some would say, everybody says, Matt Rule, slowly building into a good team. This game's very interesting. It's a tough game for me to pick because I like Nebraska, but do they win the game outright? I don't know. I think it's close. I think Nebraska covers. Screw it. Nebraska's going to beat them. I just have a feeling. I don't know what it is. You kind of get all your eyes on Indiana right now. I think it's close, but I think Nebraska wins a very, very close one. All right. All these games are exciting right here. All these games. Number 7, Alabama, 5-1, -3 at number 11, Tennessee, who's also 5-1. Alabama struggled against Vanderbilt. Tennessee struggled against Arkansas. Now you come into this game, where are you at? Alabama struggled last week against South Carolina. Who is Alabama? Who is Tennessee? I think it's kind of going to be a shootout. And I don't know who that favors as much. I think Alabama wins it just because of Jalen Milroe. And I think they'll cover the 3. I think it's close. I think it's a shootout. But I think Jalen Milroe versus Nico, as of right now, Jalen Milroe is going to win that. So that's why I'm picking Alabama. All right, this is an interesting game. This is a gritty game. This is Big Ten at its finest. Number 24, Michigan, 4-2, -3.5-point favorite at number 22, Illinois, who's 5-1. Like I said, this is Big Ten football at its finest. You're going to see some nasty, ugly, gross football, defense, run the ball. It's going to be interesting. All these games are tough to pick. They really are because not only just because they're close matchup games, they're good games to watch, but I've struggled the last couple weeks. So my mind is kind of jittering all over the place. Like, what do I do? Do I pick this? Michigan's 3.5-point favorite. I just look at Illinois. There's something about Illinois that stands out to me. I pick Illinois to win this game. There's something about it. Them playing at home, it's 3:30, but their quarterback, Luke Altmaier, better than Michigan's quarterback. I don't know. There's something about the final Illini that I like this week. All right, number 8, LSU, 5-1, -2.5 at Arkansas, 4-2. This is a sneaky good game. Who would have thought? I think they play for like the boot or something crazy. LSU beat Ole Miss last week. I think that they go into Arkansas, and I think that they beat them by 10-plus points. They're starting to figure some things out. Brian Kelly is a good coach. As much as I hate to say that, he is a good coach. He knows how to coach. He's going to make the adjustments in the game, before the game. It's just he's slowly figuring it out with the young quarterback that hasn't played. He's not young, but he hasn't played a lot. But LSU's figuring out. I think they go in, and I think they destroy Arkansas by at least 10 points. All right, now this is the biggest game. I know you're like, oh, these great games, these great games. It's like it can't get better. It's just like, give me another cheeseburger, another cheeseburger, another cheeseburger. I'm eating cheeseburgers. I'm so excited here. But guess what? There's one that's going to top them all. 7:30, number 5 Georgia, 5-1 at number 1 Texas. Texas is undefeated. They're minus 4.5 point favorites. This game is interesting because I didn't know at the beginning of the year that Alabama would beat Georgia, but then I watched the season start, and then I ended up picking Alabama to beat Georgia. I also picked Georgia to win the national title. I was high on Texas, but I was like, but Georgia kind of has some things that I like. But like I said with the Alabama-Georgia game, Alabama was playing better than Georgia at the time, and they ended up winning. Texas is playing better than Georgia right now. Therefore, I think Texas wins this game, and I think they cover the 4.5. Texas is a very good football team. Very good football team. They went to Michigan. Granted, Michigan's not the best, but defensively, Michigan's good. They humiliated them in the big house, made their defense not look like they had a bunch of All-Americans on it. They played OU last week, destroyed them. I thought OU would cover. One of the worst ideas I've ever had. I really like Texas. Sark really has the thing rolling. They're at home. Georgia still has some problems defensively. You give Sark a week. He understands offense. You give him a time to really hone in. Quinn Ewers. It's an easy bet for me, Texas. So that's going to do it. This week, it changes everything in college football. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching.